stupid intro. Go.
Welcome to the Monsters Madness and Magic podcast. I am Justin, and this evening I'm joined by a very special guest, the Armorer, the personification of darkness, and talented actress Emily Swallow. Emily, how the hell are you?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
Doing good, doing good. So
Where are you this fine evening?
I'm at my home in South Carolina.
All right.
Sunny
I'm not too
South.
far. I'm down in at my parents' home in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, not too far at all.
Yeah.
Are you a sports fan at all?
Yeah.
I was going to say, are you celebrating the Super Bowl victory with everybody down there?
Oh, well, we have the Jaguars in Jacksonville and they don't really give us much to celebrate. So yeah, I'll take the Buccaneers. Why not?
It works.
Yeah.
So take us back in time, Emily. So were you always interested in the arts? What's your creative origin story?
My creative origin story. People who know me would say that they're not at all surprised I wound up as an actor. I didn't know I was going to be an actor. I knew I liked my way into performing was singing. And I sang in like the children's choir at church and then I started doing musicals in middle school. And oh, well, my cousins will tell you, so my two cousins, Kim and Amy, they were both older than me, and I idolized them because they were older and, smart and pretty. And they were both dancers, and I never took dance or anything like that. And we would make home movies. We would make like commercials for things like, we never really planned ahead. So we just had to grab what we could find. So we would do this whole like elaborate commercial for like a plastic tumbler cup. But I mean, we were committed. So I guess I started making commercials pretty early on.
Wow, that's cool.
And I did a lot of performing in school. I mean, I was always in the shows at school, but I think I was just interested in too many things to know that was going to be my path. And I sort of had to get a bunch of other things out of the way. And when I was in college, my dream was to go into the foreign service. So I was a Middle Eastern Studies, foreign affairs major.
Wow.
And I totally thought that's what I was going to do. I interned at the State Department, but I had an acting teacher because I was kind of splitting my time between like all of the like foreign policy and taking Arabic and all that. I had that. And then I had the drama department and like all the acting classes and all the extracurricular stuff. And I had an acting teacher who saw how much I loved it. And he said, if you thought about pursuing this, I think maybe you should. And I think and of course I had encouragement, from like my parents were always like, whatever you want to do, whatever makes you happy. But having that person say, maybe you should give this a go. It was like a tidal wave then descended on me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. So then I wound up going to grad school to get my MFA, and I have not ever looked back. I have questioned it sometimes because I feel like you have to have a certain amount of insanity to want to be in this career, but I've never regretted it.
Sometimes all it takes is that one little kick in the rear end, or somebody to have some faith in you. And so outside of your cousins who you mentioned were dancers, were there any other performers in your family? What did your parents act?
My parents both love music, and they are amateur performers. My mom's a wonderful singer, and my dad dabbles in the trumpet and the saxophone and the piano and the guitar.
Oh, okay.
So there's always been a love of music and performing, and they would take me to see like the tours of shows that would come through Jacksonville when I was a kid. So they definitely cultivated a love of it for me.
So you grew up in Jacksonville. What would you say led to your interest in Middle Eastern studies?
Golly, that's a good question. It was really as simple as my boyfriend in high school. So I already knew I'd always been interested in like international relations, and my boyfriend in high school had gone on a trip to Israel for the summer. And so just because he was over there, I kept up with the news more. And I don't know, there was something about, I realized how much I didn't know. And I realized how much I thought I knew. And for some reason, I was looking at news reporting from multiple different countries. And I just became fascinated by how the stories were told differently depending on who was doing the reporting. And that sort of drew me into it a little bit. And then I think it's also just because it's the kind of the center of where religion came from. I mean, the three
Right.
major religions of the world, or the three Abrahamic religions, all originated there, and now they sort of try to coexist in this very small space. And there's just so much within that it just drew me in. And so I felt like, rather than just do kind of a general international relations, foreign affairs major, UVA, University of Virginia, where I went to school, they offered a interdisciplinary major of Middle Eastern studies, and
Wow.
I thought it sounded cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you were on stage as well. Did you have any favorite roles to tackle while you were on stage?
Oh, yes. I got to play Cinderella in Into the Woods when I was in undergrad. And that was a big triumph because we had done that show when I was in high school and I didn't get cast. I auditioned and I didn't get a part. And I worked backstage, and not to knock that at all, but I wanted to be on stage. So it was sort of like a triumph then when I
Right.
got cast as one of the leads in college. But I love reminding my high school drama teacher of that. And I tell her, I'm like, tell your students that happened, because they need to see, you can totally not get cast in many, many things and then still have a career in it.
And then you're
So that was one of my favorites. I did Sweeney Todd when I was an undergrad. That was a definite favorite. We did a production of Romeo and Juliet. I got to do a lot of fun things, and I got to do a lot of things that showed me that I couldn't just rely on my instincts, and roles that kind of terrified me. And I didn't have a very well-developed toolbox to draw from. And so that's why I knew if I was going to do it, I wanted to have like a focused acting program to go through before kind of launching into it in the real world.
Yeah, indeed. So we've had past guests say that they feel that stage acting should be almost a necessity when it comes to cutting your teeth as a young actor or actress. Do you feel kind of the same way, that you go to that toolbox a lot?
For me, yeah, because it's when I'm working on theater that I feel like I learn the most as an actor. But I think if you've never had it, you just develop those tools in different ways. I definitely don't think that across the board, like, people who have done theater are better actors. Not at all.
Right.
Because you are drawing from different things when you're doing TV and film. And sometimes I think if you're relying too much on the process that you have in theater, it can be a hindrance when you're doing TV and film. It can slow you down. But for me, it's where I feel like I really get to just like play on the playground and go crazy. And I learn a lot when I'm doing theater. And I mean, I just love getting to get immediate feedback from the audience to know, whether it's working or not. And that's one of the things I miss most when I'm on a set, because you're surrounded by people, but they're not allowed to react.
They're just doing their jobs, they're not.
Yeah.
They're concerned with getting the shot right, or making sure the sound's okay,
making sure there's no shadow from the boom mic. Yeah.
So does your approach differ as an actress in preparation for a screen role versus a stage role?
Yeah, it does. I mean, the guts of what I do are the same. I still do the same character preparation and have a lot of different ways in. But I feel like when I'm doing TV especially, I have to rehearse the whole thing on my own and then just be ready to go when I get there. Whereas with theater, you're getting to rehearse at rehearsal and you're finding it with the other actors. So I have, friends that I work with. I have coaches that I work with depending on the part. And I really do have to like be on my feet in a room, sort of imagining, and half the time I have no idea what the set's going to look like, but I sort of imagine what I think it might look like. So I have some options about where to go. Cause it's the worst when you sit there and you might know all the words and you might know all the feelings, but for me, if I haven't walked through it, all of a sudden I don't know what to do with my body if I haven't already like tried to go through the whole thing that way. And that's not a good feeling. So yeah, I have
visualization.
To my own. What'd you say?
The visualization, it helps,
Exactly. Yeah.
So what advice would you give someone who is looking to get their start in theater?
In theater specifically?
Yes.
Oh, golly. I just said golly for the second time, and I
We can
don't
edit it out.
usually
We have
say
like we
that.
have a 3 golly maximum, just so you know.
Does it ever happen to you where you find yourself saying like phrases or words that like just come
Yes.
out of nowhere? So
Yes.
that's what's happening for me with golly tonight. Golly gee. I mean, to start in theater, I feel like starting in theater is so much, I think it's so much easier than starting in film and TV, although not at the present moment since nobody's doing live theater
Right.
really.
Right.
But I think what was helpful for me was reading as many scripts as I could and getting to know all the different styles of playwrights through the years and figuring out, what appealed to me. And then working on that stuff in class or just with friends. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've like just sat around with a group of friends and read through a play and kind of geeked out that way. I think that it's so important to have a thorough knowledge of what it is in this, vast array of what you could do, what it is that appeals to you, and then to just get on your feet and do it. And I think for either style of acting, whether you're doing theater or you're doing film and TV, I feel like watching yourself is really informative. It can be sort of excruciating sometimes, but I think, do it for the camera. You learn a lot about, I worked with a guy once on a guy who was a magician in real life, and he was playing a magician in a play that I was doing. And he was talking about the similarities between being a magician and being an actor. And there were a few things that he said that were spot on, because he said, one of the ways a magician succeeds is by making sure that the audience is looking where he or she wants them to look,
Right.
So that he can then, get away with whatever the trick is.
Sleight of hand.
Yeah. And you want to make sure that you don't have a tell. I mean, same thing in poker. You're trying to direct the audience's focus so that they see the story that you want them to see. And the same is true in acting. There's lots of like physical habits that we might have as actors that could be telling a completely different story than we want them to tell, which was something that I found really important when I was working on The Armorer, because I realized like any extraneous movement that I had was hugely distracting because, I'm in this magnificent suit of armor with fur and all the accessories. So it's important to know, I think, whether when you watch yourself, are you telling the story you want to be telling? And that is a tool that anybody can use, whether you're getting to work professionally yet or not. So I think that's a good tool to have.
Well said. So how did you land your first professional acting gig on a screen?
On screen. Oh, my first professional gig on screen was on the soap opera Guiding Light.
Oh, nice. It's a good starting point.
It was a riot. What did you say?
That's a good starting point.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it was hilarious. I mean, it was great. I learned a lot, and it gave me a tremendous amount of respect for soap actors, because they're just learning like volumes of dialogue, like just like this, and they got to do it and they got to get done with it and they got to go on to the next thing. But I was playing, I did, I think 3 episodes. And my first episode was a flashback where I was this character that the audience, that the fans of the show had been waiting to meet for like 10 years.
Wow.
Because they knew that this couple on the show, this like really important couple, had gotten divorced years ago because he had an affair, and they'd never met the woman that he had an affair with. And it was me. And we were cop partners, and we were, oh my gosh, it was so cliched because we were undercover at a stakeout, and me being the lady cop, my undercover disguise was a prostitute, of course, because, what else am I going to be?
Yeah, right. That's the only thing you could be.
And I was like coming on to him, and I had to like lean over and like stroke his hair, and we're in this truck that has bucket seats, so we're like really far apart. I'm trying to lean over and be all sexy, and then my car door opens, and his wife, who in real life is like up to here on me, I'm 5'7", she's probably like 5'2", she yanks me out of the truck, and she said something like, "I came because I knew it. I knew." And then I was supposed to be terrified of her, even though like, I feel like I could take her in a fight. Right. So I like scurried off. And so that was my big debut. And then I came back for a few episodes in the present because I was trying to resurrect something with Mallet, who was my former lover. And I was worried that this guy that we had put in jail and who'd since gotten out, I was worried that he was stalking me. And so I had to go ask Mallet if he would watch out for me. And he said something like, yeah, I mean, so you're asking me to be a bodyguard or something? And I had to say the line, you can guard my body anytime, Mallet. And that remains to this day one of the triumphs of my acting career, that I was able to get through that line without laughing.
Wow. Kudos to that writer as well.
Yep.
Okay. So my first personal experience with your work was your role as Amara on Supernatural.
All right.
You came in kind of, the show had been rolling for quite a while. Did you know what you were getting into? Were you aware of Supernatural before you kind of got on board?
I was vaguely aware because I had friends who had been on it, and I'd seen like a smattering of episodes from different seasons. But I was not at all prepared for the phenomenon that is Supernatural.
Right. What is, in your opinion, like, what is it about that show that's allowed it all the longevity that it had? And because most shows just fizzle out after a few seasons.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I mean, I think at the core of it, I think that it's because of the leadership on that show. And by leadership, I mean Jared and Jensen. I mean the producers. I mean, all the people who are in the highest up positions in the various departments are all lovely, gracious, humble, playful people who have a great sense of humor, who don't take themselves too seriously, and who have a tremendous sense of gratitude for what they have. And I think the show itself and the writing, what's always impressed me about it is that it has such a good sense of what it is. And it's not afraid to go from being completely committed and a little bit, sappy, but completely earnest. It'll swing from that all the way around and then be like this, like caper clown show, like Scooby-Doo. Yeah. It's not afraid to laugh at itself. And I think that that's so important. I think that's one of the reasons it's been able to do all the things that it's done. I mean, how many incredible characters have been introduced over the years? And then I think, from what I learned, it was really because of the fans too. Like the show could have gone down after, I don't remember, it was like 5 or 6 seasons or so.
Right.
And the fans who loved it did not go unnoticed. And the show, I think, really loves the fans. Everyone that's on the show, everyone that produces the show really appreciates the fans and listens to the fans. And I think that having that involvement is key. And it's so special as an actor because, when I'm doing TV, I miss the audience, and getting to connect with the audience through this passionate fan base is really cool.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that earlier. That's what you preferred about stage acting, but social media kind of gives you a little bit of that with the screen stuff. It allows the fans to
for better or for worse. You get the people who are like, yay, and you get the people who would be throwing tomatoes at you if they were there in person.
I had your fictional brother on, and I asked him the same question about the show's longevity, Rob Benedict, and he said that in 2005, that's when Twitter was actually launched, and that's when Supernatural launched. So they kind of have a trending relationship to where they both kind of came on the scene at the same time, and that fan base was kind of formed and grew with the platform itself, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really remarkable.
So from the outside looking in, it just seems that you all seem to like each other. So in your acting experience, is that common? Is that the most tight-knit group you've worked with in Supernatural?
I think it is. It's, I won't say that I've been really lucky, so I won't say it's uncommon to like each other, but to go into a show that has been running as long, I went in season 11, and to feel as welcomed as I felt, and to feel like I had as big a say as anyone else who had already been at the table for 11 seasons, that was remarkable. Because that it's, you go into a long running show and, even if they're welcoming, they kind of have a way that they do things, and you
Mhm.
sometimes feel like you're playing catch up. And I never felt that. I felt like they were so interested in what I had to bring and what my ideas were. And that was just delicious. It was so much fun to get to shape that character over the course of the season, especially because I didn't know at the beginning what this arc was going to be. I knew I was supposed to recur all season, but I didn't know at first that God was my brother. And then I didn't know who God was. I didn't know what was going to happen with Dean. I didn't know if we were going to wind up getting all lovey-dovey again, or that was never going to happen. And now I have to remind, because, oh my gosh, the question I get asked more than any other question at conventions is, of course, like, what was it like to kiss Jensen? And I have to remind people it happened once. It was one time. And that's it. And thank goodness, because I remember when I got that script, I was shooting something out. I was shooting some scenes with Misha, and he came up to me and he said, "I'm so sorry." He said, "When I saw that you have to kiss him, I just said, oh, that poor girl, the fans are going to hate her."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no. But so I'm kind of glad that didn't go any further.
If it makes you feel better, that question wasn't on my list.
Okay, good.
Were you there for the last day of filming? On the very last day?
Of the whole
Yeah,
show?
like the whole wrap up, the shebang.
No, they wanted to, it was so sad because of COVID. They wanted to bring back like dozens and dozens of characters for cameos in that last episode, and they couldn't because of COVID. So no.
Thanks, COVID.
I know.
So have you watched the finale yourself, like the
Yes.
episode? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a rough one.
Yeah.
So
I liked it though.
it was well
I feel like
done.
it's impossible to end a show like that, but I love that it kind of zoomed in just to Dean and Sam again, and that it was so simple. I think that was really lovely.
Yeah, that was great. You've kind of struck gold with your last two series. You go from one of the longest running television shows of all time to the freaking Mandalorian. So how's your experience differed on set between those two shows? I mean, one's freaking busy, so I imagine it's more scales larger.
The scale is larger. The weirdest thing to me about Star Wars is how secretive everything is and how little I know about anything. It's really not hard to keep secrets when people ask me questions I'm not supposed to answer, because more often than not, I truly don't know the answer.
Right. So
I'm not going to be able to give anything away because, but it was sort of, I shot everything that I did in the first season before the show was even announced.
Whoa.
So I truly didn't really know what I was getting into. I knew that there were incredible people involved, and I knew that it looked like we were spending a lot of money, but there'd never been a live action Star Wars TV show. I didn't know if it was going to sink or swim. I felt like what I was doing was good, and I liked the scripts that I got to read. I didn't know, what was happening in other episodes. So I had a feeling it was good, but again, like I had no idea the huge phenomenon it would be. And it is also such a warm, playful set. And it sort of felt like, the whole time I felt like we all sort of had this giddy excitement that we were like kids just playing Star Wars, because all of us had grown up with it.
Right.
I remember seeing the original 3 movies are one of my earliest memories. And I was born, I wasn't around when the first one came out. I was born at some point during the second and third. And when I was a kid, I would play like Ewok adventures in my backyard. And I always wanted to be Princess Leia. So there was always kind of like, I would catch myself on set, like in a quiet moment looking around, and I'd be like, is this for real? Am I really like, I'm just playing Star Wars right now? What is this?
So the extent of your knowledge was, I'm just working on a Star Wars project, nothing else.
Yeah. I didn't really even know what a big deal the armorer was, because I wasn't in that many scenes. And then so getting to watch it was a real treat to see like how the whole story fit together, and to see how integral she was to his journey, and sending him out on his quest that then took up all of season 2.
Right. And depending on what Star Wars fans you talk to, the series has had its ups and downs. But I think every Star Wars fan agrees that everything that Jon Favreau touches is gold.
Mm.
Why do you think that is? What is it like working with him?
I think part of it is because he loves it so much. He loves it. He knows it inside and out. And I think he wanted to kind of return to the original, to the feel of those original 3 movies. And I think that was a really smart idea. So stylistically, I think that has a lot to do with it. And then I think just as a person, he's one of the smartest people I've ever met. But when you're in a room with him, all you're aware of is how interested he is in you and in all the people around you. He is so curious about people and about their ideas and about, he hired this wide variety of directors who had all these very specific styles, and he encouraged them to go with their styles, all the while making sure that everyone was on the same page in terms of like, this is the overall story we're telling. But I think he has so much trust in the people that he hires. And I think that goes a long way. That really encourages us to try to do our best. And it doesn't feel like, I'm glad that when I shot, I didn't know what it was going to be, because I think I would have been a lot more stressed out. I would have been so worried about like getting it wrong.
Right.
But that's just me. Like there was never anyone. And I'm sure it was very stressful for, the producers and everything. They knew how much money they were spending on this, and they knew how much was at stake, but it never had that feeling. There was never stress about getting stuff done, about getting shots in. It was always so playful and so collaborative, and just, there was so much open-heartedness. It was really a joy to work on it.
So when the acclaim starts coming and the show does finally roll out, what are you thinking yourself? Because it's kind of just blowing up from the get-go,
It's bonkers. I just pinched myself. I mean, the thing that has been the coolest is that, so I don't have any kids of my own, but I have 2 nephews who are 7 and 9. And this is the first thing I've ever done that they care about. And they think that their aunt is cool now. So I'm like, okay, I've arrived.
Coolest aunt ever now.
Yep. But no, I truly do pinch myself, because the joy that Star Wars fans have is just so delicious. And I love getting to meet them at conventions and interacting with people online. And I get schooled all the time because I'm a fan, but I'm not like a fan. There's so much I don't know about the Star Wars universe. So I'm constantly learning, and I'm constantly hearing theories about my character, and people, they're like, so I think that this is true. Do you think this is true? And I'm like, nobody's told me anything. I don't know.
So would you say that you can kind of tell on set, how you say you have so much fun and there's almost like a good energy on set as an actor or actress?
Yeah.
When you look back at it retroactively, is it obvious to see that this was going to be a success?
Well, no, I don't think it's ever obvious that something's going to be a success or not. I've been a part of things that I did this show called Monday Mornings that we just ran for 1 season on TNT. And that was one of my favorite casts. I got so spoiled, and we all worked together beautifully. We had a great time. We really felt like we had a great show on our hands. And I couldn't tell you why it didn't go. I know that, part of it had to do with like there was a lot of turnover at the network, and maybe it didn't get marketed great. There's so many different things that go into it. And I think any show, even if it itself is brilliant, so much of it depends on the environment into which it is released. What other shows are on, what's going on in the world, what night is it premiering, what's it up against. There's so many things that could take it down that you would never anticipate. So it's a tremendous, my husband gets mad at me sometimes because I'm a very cautiously optimistic person when it comes to my work. Like I won't celebrate until like the thing has been on screen and people have seen it and they've told me they've seen it. I don't really get excited until like it is a done deal. And he's always wanting to celebrate sooner. So it's such a gift that the show is done as well as it has, because even though I knew it was good, there's no way I could have anticipated that it would catch on the way it did.
Right. So you've also done a lot of voice work people will be familiar with. You've done Lisa in Castlevania and Emily in The Last of Us too.
Yeah.
So is there a big difference in the process of recording for a video game and a television show?
Yes, because I did motion capture work for the video game as well. So I put on one of those funny little suits that has the like ping pong balls stuck to it. I'm sure you've seen that.
Yes.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah.
You look like an idiot. You feel like an idiot. And that, I think, honestly, doing motion capture work is kind of like the purest form of having to go back to your 6-year-old imagination, because you really have nothing. You're just in this big empty like warehouse space. If there's a set piece, it's usually just made out of like iron bars or something. Like everything has to be so minimal. You're not allowed to have it because they have to be able to animate it in. So you're really like, your imagination has to work overtime. But it's a lot of fun. And then it's so thrilling to see what it looks like once these amazing animators get their hands on it. So yeah, that's pretty different from when I did Castlevania. Most of the time, most of my episodes, I wasn't even getting to work with the other actors at the same time. I was kind of recording my stuff all on my own in a booth. The most recent episode that I did, I got to be on the phone with my scene partner, and that was like big bonus. So I actually got to hear him.
Now, would you prefer that if you could maybe be in the same room with the others? Because I know the old style of voice acting from, say, the 80s, they would all just basically be in the same room, yelling at each other and playing off each other.
I don't like being by myself.
Right. Right.
Half the reason I want to be an actor is because I want to, like, I've never had a desire to do a one-person show. Because why? Why would I? When I dry up and I don't have inspiration, I want to be able to look at the other people that are on stage with me or, on set with me and just be able to react to them.
Yeah. Otherwise, you got one person to blame.
Exactly. That's too much pressure. I don't need that.
No pressure. So I wanted to ask you about your stage show, Jack and Swallow. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh man, it's so much fun.
You two are potentially developing a series?
Yeah, I need to go play this interview for Jack after it's done and remind her of that, because she has 2 beautiful children who are a huge handful. And so we haven't really gotten to work on it much lately, but that was the plan. We were working on a series for it, and I keep wanting to resurrect it with her. I feel like it'll happen at the right time.
So what does the stage show usually consist of? Are you guys doing like a stand-up act? Is it singing?
It's kind of, the way that it came about was really just that we met and we knew we were destined to perform together. Like we just have this fun, weird chemistry. Right. And we met when we were both doing a workshop of a musical, and we had a third friend who knew us both from different places, and he was watching us together, and he was like, "You guys need to perform together." And we had never thought about that. We just knew like we had a great time making each other laugh.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to. We love to make each other laugh, and it seems that when we make each other laugh, we make an audience laugh. So it tends to be sort of kind of, there's a lot of it that's kind of like stand up. There's a lot of stories that we tell, usually embarrassing stories about our lives. And then we sing. We sing mostly like covers of stuff, but there have been some things that we've written together, and man, oh man, talking about it makes me miss it. And as soon as we finish, I'm going to harass her, and I'm going to be like, I don't care about your children.
Yeah, you should forget the kids. Yeah. Let's get on this show.
I mean, come on. They're like 3 and 5 now. They can take care of themselves.
Exactly. Once you get past 2, you're on your own.
Totally. You can practically drive.
So today, what would you say is the best piece of acting advice that you've received personally?
Be on time and know your lines.
Be on time is universal for everything.
Yeah. Tom Hanks says that, be on time and know your lines. And then I think be nice to people.
Yeah.
And those are three very simple things, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of people skip those steps.
Especially the nice one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, look, I feel like when people are unkind on a set, it usually is because they're nervous, they're insecure. Like it usually comes from a place of fear. And I get that, but still there's no reason for that, because I have been really fortunate to work with some people who I consider like, bucket list actors. And the people who are the best actors are also kind of the best human beings. They are kind. They know everyone's names. They're humble. They're interested in other people. I think that that's the biggest thing. And that's one of the best ways, I think, to get rid of nervousness or insecurity, is to just get interested in the people around you. And then it's easy to be nice. So yeah, it wastes time to be a jerk.
And if you really want to keep a job, you probably don't want to be a jerk if you want to work in the industry for long enough,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Word gets around.
Yeah.
People in this industry know how to gossip.
Can imagine. So genre aside, what are your personal favorite films?
Definitely The Princess Bride. Oh no, I always go blank on questions like this. Sentimentally, Aladdin.
Ooh.
Not the live action one.
Yeah, not that one.
But pretty much just because of when that movie came out in my life, I think that was one of the ones. It made me want to do voiceover. I was like, I want to be a voice in a Disney movie one day. I didn't know that I would get to be in technically a Disney series one day.
Close enough. I'd say
yeah, exactly. My voice is there. My body is too, but I'm a voice. Aladdin, I'm going blank here. And I feel like those are like only skim the surface answers.
That's fine.
But I'll stand by them.
So when you're watching Aladdin or The Princess Bride, what are you snacking on? What are your favorite movie snacks?
What am I snacking? Well, always popcorn.
See, I don't like popcorn, and I always get the crazy look whenever I tell people, I love movies.
Okay.
Not a
What's
popcorn.
your snack?
See, I'm more of a buffet kind of guy. I would like maybe some pizza.
You say a buffet?
Yeah, give me a pizza. Give me some M&M's, Skittles.
Right on.
I'll just take them all.
Nice.
So I'm not going to keep you all evening, Emily.
I just thought of another movie.
What is it?
That is like so, and it's hilarious that I thought of it because it's so different. Did you see the movie Away from Her?
I'm not familiar.
Oh, it's so depressing. It's about Julie Christie is in it, and I don't remember the gentleman who's in it now, but it's basically about a man whose wife has Alzheimer's, and he is watching her go away. But it's beautiful. So
it sounds, but
just so that you don't think that all my favorite movies are like happy. Let me put one that's super depressing.
Yeah, you need to cry sometimes.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm not going to keep you all night, but what do you have on the horizon? Anything coming down the pipeline soon?
I am excited to get back to LA because I am going to be working on an album.
Ooh.
With somebody who you mentioned earlier, with Rob Benedict.
Really?
Yeah.
See, he didn't tell me that. Now I'm mad at him.
Well, he might not have known.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a pretty recent development.
Okay. All right.
But I'm putting out, it's probably just going to be covers, this first like mini album. And then I want to raise some money so that I can do something proper and write some stuff. But we were hoping to get it done before the end of last year. And then with all of the, LA got locked down again. And then I wasn't in LA, that helps if you're in the same city. So I'm very excited about that. Work-wise, there's not much that I can say anything about.
Well, it must be Disney.
What?
It must be Disney.
I don't know.
Okay. Say no more. Well, Emily, it's been lovely talking to you. I don't have anything else for you. And whenever you and Rob get that album sorted out, I'm sure I'll be bothering you both again.
Yeah, please do.
All right. Well, you have a great night. It's been a great time talking to you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.